Yeah, so I mean, we've got such a great story to tell in Scotland, because we've got hugely ambitious targets in terms of cutting emissions, and they usually get the headlines. 2045 get to net zero. I think what's more important in Scotland is we've got some of the highest levels of public awareness of climate change anywhere in the world. We're just going to the end of the Climate Assembly, which is 100 people from across Scotland looking at all the evidence, looking at what's being done, and saying from their perspectives, and massively diverse, amazing group of people, this is what more you should be doing. So that process has been great, just in terms of the extra ambition you get from talking to representatives from across Scotland. So we need to showcase that. I think we need to showcase the fact that Scotland's approach to climate change is one about not just cutting carbon and having geeks like me saying, right, we need to get to net zero at any cost, because that would be a failure. It needs to be net zero in a sustainable and just way. And that narrative for Scotland is one it should be rightly proud of and talk to other nations and subnational actors, so other cities and states, about, right, you've got your net zero target and you've got your ambition. How do you make that transition in a way which protects livelihoods, respects biodiversity and nature? We're in a nature crisis as well. I think one of the lovely things about being in Scotland is that bigger picture view that Scotland takes. We're a small country, but we kind of get the big picture thinking about, right, the climate emergency is one we need to tackle and be really serious about, but we need to engage everyone in this journey, and we need to get to a net zero Scotland which is sustainable, rather than net zero but everything, people are losing their jobs, people aren't bought in, nature's damaged, all these things. So we need to make sure COP tells that story to our partners all over the world. I think we need to make sure COP26 in Scotland is seen as a Scottish COP. It's hosted by the UK government in terms of the presidency, but it's in Glasgow, and everyone in Scotland should be rightly proud that Glasgow is the host city and that we're doing so much. And I guess one of the real dangers, because of COVID and because of the fact that the Conference of the Parties is always a little bit of a jamboree. You have the blue zone with the negotiations, and most people won't have access to that physically. And the green zone, where civil society can get together, that's going to be limited by COVID. So there's a real danger that people hear this thing is going on for 2 weeks, and then that's all they think about. They don't hear anything else. And that would be a huge missed opportunity for us as Scotland, a massive failure. We need COP to be something which everyone in Scotland, if you talk to your neighbour, they've heard of it, and they've got an opportunity to engage, maybe not in Glasgow, but in their own community, in terms of supporting action there at a community level, in terms of climate change awareness, cutting emissions, in terms of your schools or your offices, how we're moving around. Our transport is going to be a major issue post-COVID. Are we just going to go back to where we were before, or are we going to go for something which aligns with a sustainable climate future? And so having those conversations right across Scotland, based in communities, supporting that in a way which has a legacy beyond the 2 weeks of COP, so that we're talking about climate change in Scotland all the way up to COP, but even more afterwards. We're saying, yeah, we were proud of COP26 because it talked about where we are in Scotland, the mistakes we've made, but the lessons we've learned and what we're doing. And other nations are kind of doing that as well. And we've twinned our community in Kintyre with one in Malawi, and we're facing very different threats from climate change. But the things we can do as a community, there are great synergies and there are great partnerships which can go on long beyond COP26. So there are some initiatives I'm aware of which are aiming to do exactly that across the sectors, particularly the arts and culture sector have really got this need to kind of, we're an amazing nation for arts and culture reaches into all of our communities across Scotland. And that is a key part of tackling climate change, is through our understanding, our reflection, the lessons, I guess, we all carry with us in terms of what we hear about climate change and what it means to us. And that is also a great way to engage everyone across the nation. So I'm really on one hand, I'm worried because of the impact of COVID on how we can all physically engage with COP26, but I'm also optimistic that even if we've got to do it virtually, or we've got to do it in our own communities because we're not allowed to be there in person in Glasgow, we can do something amazing which really has a lasting effect for the whole nation.